The night before our wedding, I learned she was ashamed of my missing leg. Then I woke up before the crash that took it. The night before our wedding, I found a video of myself learning to walk on a prosthetic leg in my fiancé's private group chat. Her caption said, "Every time I watch him limp, I feel sick. I wish he had never saved me." Her friends told her to disappear before the ceremony. She replied, "I'm seriously considering it." 3 years earlier, I had destroyed my career as a ballet dancer and lost my left leg protecting her in a crash. That night, I learned the woman who promised to become. My legs had been laughing at the way I walked. Then the room vanished. I opened my eyes inside the car seconds before the crash that had ruined my life. This time, when the impact came, I did not throw myself across her body. I protected myself. When I woke in the hospital, both of my legs were still there. Evelyn Reed was alive too, but this time, she was the one who would never walk the same way again. The woman I had loved for 10 years. My name is Lucas Hart. Before everything happened, there were only 2 things I thought I understood completely: ballet and Evelyn Reed. I met Evelyn when I was 13. She was loud, competitive, and impossible to impress. I was already training seriously in classical ballet, which meant my life was divided between school, rehearsals, and pretending my feet did not hurt. Evelyn played volleyball. She was terrible at losing. The first real argument we ever had began because she accused me of cheating during a bicycle race. I had not cheated. She refused to believe me. She chased me halfway across the park. I laughed so hard I fell off my bike. That was Evelyn. Beautiful in an effortless way. Confident, restless, always moving. I loved her long before I had the courage to call it love. By 18, everybody knew. My friends knew. Her friends knew. Our parents definitely knew. The only person who refused to give me a clear answer was Evelyn. Whenever I tried to ask whether we were actually together, she would smile and say, "Why are you so obsessed with labels?" Then she would steal my jacket and wear it for the rest of the week. I mistook ambiguity for romance. That was my first mistake. My second was believing time automatically turned affection into devotion. It does not. Sometimes time only makes you more skilled at ignoring what you do not want to see. Marcus Lane. During our second year at university, I shared a flat with a student named Marcus Lane. Marcus was everything I was not. I had trained my entire life to control every movement. Marcus seemed proud of having no control over anything. He skipped lectures, played guitar badly, flirted with everybody, changed his future plans every 3 weeks. Women loved him, including Evelyn. She never admitted it. She did not need to. The first time she came to our apartment and saw Marcus standing in the kitchen, something changed in her face. It was tiny, less than a second. But when you have loved someone 4 years, you become fluent in expressions they think nobody notices. After that, Evelyn visited constantly. She said she came to see me, yet somehow she always knew whether Marcus would be home. She laughed harder at his jokes, remembered stories he told once, asked me casually whether he was seeing anyone. I understood. Of course I understood. It hurt, but Evelyn had never promised herself to me, so I did the only dignified thing I knew how to do. I stepped back. If she wanted Marcus, she was free to choose him. But strangely, nothing happened. Marcus enjoyed Evelyn's attention, but never seriously pursued her. Eventually university ended. Marcus moved abroad. Evelyn stayed, and gradually, she came closer to me again. Then the crash happened. The day I gave her my future. We were driving home after collecting our graduation documents. Rain had been falling since morning. Evelyn was beside me. I remember her complaining about the weather. I remember laughing. Then I remember headlights. A vehicle ahead turned unexpectedly. A tanker came through the junction. There was nowhere to go. Everything happened in seconds. Metal screamed, glass exploded, and instinct took over. I unbuckled, threw myself toward Evelyn, covered as much of her as I could. When I woke again, my mother was sitting beside my hospital bed. Her face told me before the doctors did. My left leg could not be saved. From the thigh down, it was gone. I stared at the blanket, then at my mother, then back at the place where half my leg should have been. I had trained in ballet for 18 years. My instructors had once talked about European companies, competitions, professional contracts, stages in London, Paris, Vienna. Suddenly people were explaining prosthetics to me, physical rehabilitation, accessibility, a different future. They spoke kindly. I hated them for it, because kindness could not give me back what I had lost. I stopped answering messages, stopped seeing friends, stopped looking at myself. For a while, I did not want another future. Evelyn was the person who refused to let me disappear. She came every day. She sat through the silence, helped me learn how to transfer from the bed to the wheelchair, stayed during rehabilitation. When frustration overwhelmed me, she took my anger without leaving. One night I finally broke. I was supposed to dance. Evelyn sat beside me on the floor. I know, you don't understand. No. Her eyes filled. I probably never will. I covered my face. My life is over. She grabbed my hands. No, Evelyn, look at me. I did. Tears were running down her cheeks. You saved my life. I didn't save yours, so you could owe me anything. I know. She squeezed my hands tighter. But I am staying. For how long? As long as you need. I laughed bitterly. And if I never walk normally again? Her answer came immediately. Then I'll walk beside you. And if I need help forever, then let me help. I still remember her next sentence. Because for 3 years, it became the foundation of everything I believed. If you can't have the legs you had before, Lucas, then I'll be your legs for the rest of my life. I believed her. God, I believed her. The 3 years I thought were love. Evelyn helped me recover. Eventually I learned to use a prosthetic. I learned stairs, uneven pavement, crowds, public transportation. I learned how to tolerate strangers looking at me. What I never learned was how to return to ballet. I could still move. I could still train parts of my body. But the career I had built since childhood was gone, so I became dependent on Evelyn. In ways that frightened even me. Her approval mattered too much. Her presence controlled my mood. When she was kind, I felt capable. When she became distant, I panicked. My mother noticed. Lucas, she said one evening, gratitude and love are not the same thing. She loves me. I hope so. You don't believe her. I believe you need a life that does not collapse whenever Evelyn leaves the room. I became angry. I accused my mother of disrespecting the woman who had stayed beside me. I did not know that behind my back, Evelyn was already using my family for something entirely different. The Hart family owned a major property and investment group. The Reed family had a respectable company, but nowhere near ours in scale. After Evelyn and I became engaged, Reed Holdings suddenly gained access to introductions, financing opportunities and projects connected to my parents. Within 3 years, their company exploded in value. At first, I felt proud. Then Evelyn's family began competing directly against ours. Projects became strangely difficult. Information seemed to reach competitors before it should. My mother warned me more than once. I defended Evelyn every time. I thought suspicion was insulting. Love made me stupid. Or perhaps desperation did. When you believe one person sacrificed their youth to remain with you after you became disabled, questioning their motives feels like accusing your own rescuer. So I ignored everything. Until the night before our wedding. Her phone. Evelyn was showering when her phone started vibrating. Once, twice, then repeatedly. I reached for it because I assumed there was an emergency. A message preview appeared. Go drinking tonight. If you disappear, tomorrow's wedding can't happen. I froze. Another message arrived. You've already wasted 3 years taking care of Lucas. You don't owe him your whole life. Then, disappear for a month. Your parents will calm down. Eventually, his family has money. Give him compensation and move on. My hand began shaking. I opened the group chat. I should not have. I wish sometimes that I never had. But ignorance would only have postponed the truth. There were months of messages. Evelyn complaining about me, laughing about me, talking about how exhausting it was to attend events alone because she was embarrassed to bring me. Then I found a video. Me, at rehabilitation, trying to walk with my prosthetic. I remembered the day. I had fallen twice. Evelyn had recorded me because she said she wanted me to see my progress later. In the group chat, she had sent the same video to her friends. Someone please tell me how I'm supposed to watch this for the next 50 years. Another message. Every time he limps beside me, everyone stares. Then, sometimes I wish I had been the one who lost a leg that day. At least then I wouldn't have to spend my life pretending I still want him. I stopped breathing. I kept scrolling. And finally I found Marcus. He had returned. They had been messaging privately. I've missed you for 3 years. Evelyn, me too. Marcus, I was an idiot when you liked me. I didn't understand what I wanted. Now I do. Then the message that destroyed whatever remained of me. If I came tomorrow and took you away from the wedding, would you leave with me? Evelyn had replied, yes. I was still holding her phone when she entered the room. One look at my face and she knew. Lucas. I looked up. How long? Her face lost color. Give me the phone. How long have you hated touching me? Lucas. How long? She reached for the phone. I pulled it away. Were you really going to disappear tomorrow? Silence. Answer me. Give me my phone. That was when something inside me broke. Not loudly. There was no dramatic scream. Just a final thread snapping. You told me you would be my legs. Her eyes hardened. Perhaps she understood there was no lie left worth protecting. You want the truth. I think I've earned it. Her voice rose. Do you know what the last 3 years have been like for me? I stared at her. I'm 28 years old, Lucas. So am I. My friends travel with their partners. They dance. They ski. They go anywhere they want without planning everything around accessibility. I could barely believe her. You think I chose this? I didn't say that, you said. You wished I hadn't saved you. Evelyn looked away. People say things when they're frustrated. You filmed me learning to walk and sent it to your friends. I needed somewhere to vent by humiliating me. You don't understand what it is like being the person who has to stay strong all the time. I started laughing. It sounded terrible. Stay strong. My voice shook. I lost my leg saving you. Her face twisted. And I never asked you to. Silence swallowed the apartment. Then Evelyn said quietly, if I could go back, maybe I would rather you hadn't. That was the moment. The room disappeared. I woke up before the crash. Rain hit the windscreen. Evelyn sat beside me, young, uninjured, impatiently checking her phone. My own breathing became frantic. I looked down. 2 legs, both mine, real, whole. I could move every toe. For several seconds I thought I was dreaming. Then I saw the junction. My blood went cold. I knew this road. I knew this rain. I knew what happened next. The car ahead began to turn. Headlights appeared. The tanker. In my first life, I had unbuckled and thrown my body over Evelyn. This time, I stayed in my seat. I braced. I protected my head. And I screamed, Evelyn. Impact. Darkness. The hospital. When I woke, my mother was crying over me. Lucas. I grabbed the blanket. Both legs. Still there. My chest hurt. My shoulder was bruised. But my legs were mine. I cried so hard my mother thought something was terribly wrong. Then memory returned. Evelyn. What happened to Evelyn? My mother's expression changed. She's in surgery. I knew what that meant. I limped toward the corridor despite every protest. Outside the operating theater, Evelyn's mother was sobbing. You can't take her leg. A surgeon was speaking calmly. The damage is extensive. Waiting would put her health at greater risk. Evelyn's father stood with his face buried in both hands. I leaned against the wall. In another life, those words had been about me. This time, Evelyn lost her left leg high above the knee. Complications from the crash also affected her vision temporarily. Doctors expected improvement after further treatment. But when she woke, she could not see, and she did not yet know about her leg. I stayed beside her, not because I had forgiven her, because something dark had begun growing inside me. I wanted her to understand. Not disability, not pain. I would never wish anyone to believe losing a limb made them less human. What I wanted her to understand was abandonment, dependence, the terror of giving someone your vulnerable self, and discovering they secretly resented you for needing them. So when Evelyn finally woke and reached blindly into the darkness, I took her hand. Lucas, I'm here. Relief moved across her face. What happened? You were badly injured. My eyes. The doctors think your vision can improve. She swallowed. And everything else. I hesitated. Then I said gently, your left leg couldn't be saved. Her fingers tightened around mine. What? Evelyn, what did you say? She began searching beneath the blanket. Then she found nothing where her leg should have been. The scream that followed sounded exactly like the one I remembered making in another life. And for one horrible second, I felt satisfied. That frightened me more than I expected. Because revenge does not only reveal what someone else did to you, it reveals what pain can turn you into. I'll stay with you. Evelyn's recovery was brutal. She became angry, suspicious, ashamed of being seen. She dismissed nurses, refused visitors, rejected food. Small inconveniences became explosions. Her parents slowly stopped staying as long, but I knew exactly what she needed, because I had already lived it. When frustration made her restless, I knew when to speak and when to remain silent. I knew which food she tolerated, how to help without making every movement feel like proof of helplessness. how to position things within reach, how to let her do something herself, even when helping would be faster. Within weeks, Evelyn began trusting only me. One evening she whispered, "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Staying." I looked at her. "In another life, you stayed for me." She frowned. "What?" "Nothing." She swallowed. "Lucas, I'm not the same anymore." "You're still Evelyn." "I'm missing a leg." "So?" Her eyes filled. "You could leave." "I could." That answer frightened her. I took her hand. "But I'm here." Her grip tightened. Slowly, exactly as I knew she would, Evelyn began building her world around me. And then Marcus returned, the man she thought she loved. Marcus walked into Evelyn's room carrying flowers. The second I saw his face, memories from my first life came rushing back. The secret messages, the plan to steal her from our wedding, the man Evelyn claimed she had loved all along. Evelyn's entire expression changed when she heard his voice. "Marcus." He smiled. "Hey." Even from across the room, I saw it. Hope. The kind Evelyn had never looked at me within my first life. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Marcus insisted he could help change her bandages. "I can do it," he said. "You've been taking care of everything. Lucas, let me help." I stepped aside. "Of course." Evelyn looked pleased. Then Marcus uncovered the healing amputation site. His face changed. Only for a second. But Evelyn saw it. A flash of shock, discomfort, fear. The medication bottle slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Evelyn went completely still. Marcus stammered, "I'm sorry, I just wasn't expecting." "Expecting what?" "Evelyn, look at me." He tried. He failed. Her voice broke. "Am I that difficult to look at?" "No." You flinched. "I didn't." "You dropped the bottle." I was surprised. "Get out." "Evelyn, get out." He left. The flowers followed him into the hallway. I looked at them lying on the floor. 3 years earlier, Evelyn had privately mocked the exact body I had because I saved her. Now the man she had planned to abandon me for could not hide his discomfort for 3 seconds. Some ironies do not need explanation. Everyone left except me. Evelyn's family began changing too. Her father had other children from previous relationships. Before the crash, Evelyn had been the obvious heir. Beautiful, educated, relentlessly capable. Afterward, conversations about succession became noticeably quieter around her. Her father visited less. Her mother became consumed with the company. Friends stopped calling after repeated rejections. Marcus disappeared almost completely. And every time someone else stepped farther away, I remained. Evelyn became terrified that I would disappear too. If I missed one call, she sent 5 messages. If rehearsals kept me away for an afternoon, she asked when I was coming. One evening, I stood to leave. She grabbed my wrist. "Don't. I have training tomorrow. Stay tonight. You have staff. I don't want them." "Evelyn." Her voice became small. "Please." The Evelyn I remembered had once told her friends that caring for me felt like wasting her life. Now her entire sense of safety depended on hearing my footsteps in the next room. I should have felt victorious. Instead, the satisfaction had begun turning sour, because the closer I came to succeeding in my revenge, the more I realized I was becoming someone I did not respect. I went back to ballet. In my first life, the accident stole ballet from me. In this life, I had my body, my training, my future. So I auditioned for London City Ballet. The first morning I returned to a professional studio, I stood in front of the mirror for almost 5 minutes without moving. Both legs, both feet, my entire body intact. Then the pianist began. Muscle memory returned before confidence did. Tendu, plie, turn, jump, again, again, again. I trained until my clothes were soaked, until my feet hurt, until my lungs burned, and I loved every second. Months later, I was accepted into the company. Then the artistic director selected me for a major competition. When I told Evelyn, her face fell. "That means you'll be gone more." "Yes, you promised you would stay with me. I promised I would help you recover." "Is that different?" "It has to be." Her expression hardened. "So now that I'm like this, you suddenly have a new life." There it was. The sentence she had unknowingly thrown back across to lifetimes. I almost told her everything. Instead, I said, "I had a life before you, Evelyn." She stared at me. Perhaps for the first time, she realized I was not simply another piece of equipment inside her recovery. She began chasing me. The more I danced, the more Evelyn clung to me. Her calls multiplied. "Are you coming tonight? I want the soup you make." The housekeeper made it wrong again. Lucas, call me, please. My teammates occasionally teased me. Girlfriend trouble. I shook my head. No girlfriend. What is she then? I looked at the phone vibrating on the bench. Someone who is afraid of being left. One dancer laughed. You say that like you're not going to answer. I turned the phone face down. For the first time in years, I didn't. Her birthday. Evelyn's birthday arrived several months after the crash. She had avoided almost everyone since the accident. So I contacted some of her old friends. I told myself I was giving her a chance to reconnect. A part of me knew I was also forcing her to face people she had been hiding from. They arrived with flowers, champagne, gifts. One friend had brought the keys to a limited edition sports car. Because Evelyn had been obsessed with that model before the accident, the room became silent the moment they saw her. Evelyn was standing with crutches. Her prosthetic was visible beneath her clothes. Everyone tried not to stare, which, of course, made it obvious that they had noticed. One friend whispered, "Oh my God, Evelyn." I didn't know. She looked at the car key in his hand. Her face drained of color. "Who told you to bring that?" He blinked. "I thought you'd love it. Get out, Evelyn, get out." The birthday collapsed within minutes. After everyone left, she turned toward me. "Did you do that deliberately?" I said nothing. "Lucas," tears filled her eyes. "Did you bring them here so they could look at me?" "I invited your friends. You knew I didn't want them seeing me. They were going to find out eventually. You wanted to humiliate me." The accusation struck harder than I expected, because part of it was true. She stared at me. "I love you." I laughed. Evelyn flinched. "What? You love me?" "Yes. You're sure?" "Lucas, I have been trying to tell you for months." I walked toward her. "Do you remember the night before our wedding?" Her expression became confused. "What wedding?" "The wedding we never had." "What are you talking about?" I took out my phone. I had written the words from our old group chat down because I was terrified I might someday convince myself I imagined them. I read them aloud. "Every time I watch him limp, I feel sick." Evelyn went pale. I wish he had never saved me. Her hand tightened around the crutch. "Stop," I continued. "I don't want to spend the rest of my life pretending I love someone I don't." "Lucas, stop. If Marcus came to take me away from the wedding, I'd leave." "Stop." Her face twisted. "How do you know those words?" I looked directly at her. "Because you wrote them." "I never. In my first life." Silence. Her breathing changed. "What? You were sitting in our apartment the night before our wedding." I stepped closer. "I had one leg. You were planning to disappear." She shook her head. "No. You had spent 3 years pretending to love me because our families wanted the marriage." "No. You told me you wished I had never saved you." "Lucas." "And I died believing the person I sacrificed everything for saw me as a burden." Evelyn grabbed her head. Her breathing became ragged. Memories did not return like a film. They came like fragments. The apartment, the messages, the wedding dress, Marcus, my prosthetic, her own laughter inside the private chat, then the ceremony she abandoned. And what happened to me afterward? Evelyn collapsed into the chair. Her entire body shook. "No." I watched tears stream down her face. "No, no, no." Then she looked at me. And I knew. She remembered. "You remember too." Her voice was barely audible. "You remember?" "Yes. All of it." "Yes." She covered her mouth. For several minutes, the only sound in the room was her crying. Finally she whispered, "I didn't know what happened to you afterward." "I know. I thought you would move on." "I didn't." Her eyes closed. "What happened?" I did not give her the details. I no longer wanted my worst moment turned into another weapon between us. I broke. That was enough. Evelyn cried harder. "I never wanted that. But you wanted freedom from me." I was angry. "You were ashamed of me." I was selfish. "Yes, I was being pressured by my family." "So was I." She looked at me desperately. "Marcus came back and I thought that he was your real love." Her silence answered. "What happened after you left me?" I asked. "I don't know. You never stayed long enough to find out." She began shaking. "Lucas, I'm sorry." I looked at the woman I had once loved enough to sacrifice my body for, then at the prosthetic beside her. 4 months, I had imagined this moment. I thought it would feel victorious. Instead, I felt tired. "You know what the worst part is?" She looked up. "I wanted you to suffer." Her eyes widened. "That's why I stayed." The truth tasted ugly. I knew exactly how frightened you were because I had been there before. I knew how to make you trust me. I knew how to make myself indispensable. "Lucas, I thought if you loved me enough this time, then I could leave and you would finally understand." She went completely still. And now I understand that if I keep doing this, then what happened to me will control another life too. She started crying again. Please don't go. I have to. Because you hate me. No, that surprised both of us. I'm leaving because I don't want to become cruel just because you were the stage she took from me once. I cut contact. Evelyn's mother called. I declined. Her carers called. I explained that her medical and daily support needed to come from qualified people and family, not from an ex-partner she had become emotionally dependent on. Then I trained. Morning, afternoon, night. For 3 years in my first life, I had dreamed of a stage I believed I would never stand on again. Now nothing would take it from me. Competition day arrived. The theatre was full. When the lights hit the stage, every other thought disappeared. No Evelyn, no Marcus, no accident, no revenge, only music, my body, and 18 years of training that had somehow crossed to lifetimes to find me again. I danced. Every turn felt like reclaiming something. Every jump felt impossible. When the final note ended, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the audience stood. I won. Backstage, holding the trophy, I cried. Not because I had defeated Evelyn, because for the first time since waking in the second life, I had achieved something that had nothing to do with her. My phone rang. Evelyn. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Congratulations, she said. Her voice was soft. Thank you. A pause. I remember everything now. I know. I remember the chat. I closed my eyes. I remember Marcus. Silence. I remember the wedding. Her voice cracked. And I remember what I did to you. I said nothing. Lucas. Yes. Other than anger. She hesitated. Is there anything left? No. The answer came immediately. She breathed in sharply. Nothing. I don't hate you anymore. Hope briefly entered her silence. Then I finished. But that doesn't mean I want you back. A long pause. Finally, I understand. This time, I believed her. Everything Evelyn thought would always be hers. The Reed family began collapsing within months. Evelyn's father brought another child publicly into the family and shifted control of the company away from her. Her mother fought the decision until the stress affected her own health. Executives chose sides. Old alliances disappeared. The business Evelyn once believed she would inherit became a battlefield she no longer wanted to enter. Marcus never came back. The man she thought was worth abandoning me for vanished. The moment loving her required more than nostalgia. Evelyn withdrew from almost everyone. I heard she stopped attending rehabilitation consistently for a period and had to be encouraged by her medical team to return. I never involved myself again. Not because I wanted her to suffer, because learning boundaries had become part of my own recovery too. Months later, I saw her by coincidence at a hospital. She was seated in a wheelchair near a large window. She looked thinner, older somehow, not physically old, just tired in a way that made youth irrelevant. Her eyes widened when she recognized me. Lucas. I stopped. For a second, hope appeared on her face. Then she laughed softly at herself. You're not here for me. No, of course not. I almost continued walking. Then Evelyn asked if we had another life. I looked at her. Would you forgive me? The question followed me through the corridor. I thought about the girl who once rode bicycles beside me at sunset, the teenager who cheered at my first dance competition, the woman who sat beside my hospital bed, the fiancé who privately laughed at my prosthetic. They were all Evelyn. People are rarely only the worst thing they have done, but that does not mean love has to survive what they did. I don't hate you anymore, I said. Tears appeared in her eyes. But forgiveness does not mean returning. She nodded slowly. I know. I walked away. This time, she did not ask me to stop. The begonias. The last news I received about Evelyn came much later. She had died following a severe private mental health crisis after withdrawing from most of the people around her. There were no dramatic final messages sent to me. No cinematic reunion. No final declaration that made everything meaningful. Real endings are often less satisfying than stories teach us to expect. What stayed with me was something much smaller. Begonias. Evelyn had once filled the courtyard of her apartment with them because they were my favorite flowers. When we were younger, she would bring me a ridiculous bouquet whenever I won a competition. If I failed an exam, she dragged me into the library and refused to leave until I studied. If I annoyed her, she tapped my forehead and called me impossible. I used to carry her backpack after volleyball practice. We cycled home beneath orange sunsets. There had been good years, real ones, That was the hardest truth to accept. The love had not necessarily been fake from the beginning. It had simply become selfish, resentful, transactional, and eventually unrecognizable. Years later, I learned that in some traditions, begonias can symbolize complicated affection, longing mixed with caution, beauty mixed with sorrow. It felt appropriate. I loved Evelyn once, enough to sacrifice everything. Then she turned my sacrifice into something she resented me for, when she finally wanted my love again. I had already learned how dangerous it was to build an entire life around being chosen by one person. I did not get my first life back. I could not erase what happened. But I received something better than revenge. I received another stage, another dance, another future. And this time, when the curtain rose, I was not waiting for Evelyn Reed to decide whether I was worth loving. I already knew I was. This story is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes. The characters, relationships, injuries, medical events and supernatural second life premise are invented for dramatic storytelling. The story does not encourage humiliation, harassment, retaliation, emotional manipulation, discrimination against people with disabilities, interference with medical care or self-harm. Anyone experiencing relationship abuse, disability-related discrimination, serious emotional distress, or a mental health crisis should seek appropriate support from trusted people, qualified professionals, or local emergency services.